In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 college football games happening on October 7, 2023, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 2 picks for each game, 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 college football games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Arkansas versus Ole Miss. The Arkansas Razorbacks travel to Mississippi on Saturday to take on the Ole Miss Rebels in Southeastern Conference action. The Razorbacks come into this matchup at 2-3 following a disappointing loss to rival Texas Agricultural and Mechanical on Saturday. The Rebels come in at 4-1 after taking out LSU at home on Saturday night. The Razorbacks are coming off 3 straight losses to Brigham Young University, LSU, the Texas Aggies, and now they are running up against a buzzsaw of an offense in Ole Miss. The Rebels won a close one against LSU last week in a track meet. The Rebels have lost only 1 game, to Alabama. Arkansas had high expectations of winning the Southeastern Conference West this year, but with 2 division losses already, things are looking bleak. Ole Miss is still in the race for the West despite the loss to Alabama, but the Rebels need a win in this game. The Rebels have won 4 of their last 5 games. With the exception of their loss to Alabama, they have played well offensively and they're scoring more than 40 points per game. Their passing attack is one of the best in the country, and they also run the ball efficiently. The Razorbacks have done a good job defending the run, but they haven't been as good against the pass, especially on the road, and will have a hard time slowing down the Rebels in this game. The Razorbacks have lost 3 of their last 5 games. They don't run the ball well, and they're barely throwing over 200 yards per game. Even though the Rebels have struggled against the pass this season, they don't have to worry about the Razorbacks beating them on the ground, which will allow them to focus on stopping the pass and bringing pressure on Jefferson, who has been sacked 18 times already, so expect them to keep Arkansas offense in check. The Rebels proved their mettle this week by coming back and taking down LSU in a high-scoring affair. Quarterback Dart had his best overall game on Saturday and bounced back nicely from a tough game against Alabama. Arkansas defense has been relatively strong this season, but they were just torched by a Texas Aggies offense that is not nearly as potent as the Rebels. The Aggies ran for over 200 yards against the Razorbacks, and now the Razorbacks match up with an Ole Rebel squad that ran for over 300 yards last week. Ole Miss is most susceptible on the defensive end, but Arkansas does not have the offensive firepower to exploit their defense, ranking just 91st in total offense. Ole Miss will push the pace on Saturday and get Arkansas out of its comfort zone. Ole Miss has taken 3 of the last 5 matchups overall, so the Ole Miss Rebels to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Ole Miss has the 8th ranked offense in the country by yards per game, averaging 517.4 yards and 42 points per game. The Razorbacks don't have nearly as explosive an offense, averaging only 36.5 points and 342 yards per game. Arkansas is led by one of the most experienced Southeastern Conference quarterbacks, KJ Jefferson, who has a 68% completion percentage with 1,050 yards, 11 total touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. The trouble for both teams is their defenses, especially Ole Miss. They allow on average 25 points and 408 yards per game. The Arkansas defense does not have such bad numbers, allowing only 23 points and 339 yards per game, but in their last 3 games they have allowed 34 points or more. The Ole Miss offense seems to have found its stride in only 1 game after a misstep against Alabama. This will be a good test to see how far back the Rebels offense has come, considering the Razorbacks have covered in 9 of their last 10 against Ole Miss. Arkansas has scored 30 or more points in 3 of their 5 games thus far. They are battling an Ole Miss defense that is ranked just 114th in the country. Arkansas has also allowed an average of over 35 points per game in their 3 straight losses. The Rebels have averaged over 44 points per game this season. They have the 11th ranked offense in the country and move at one of the fastest paces in the nation. Head-to-head, the 2 teams have gone over this total in 6 of their last 8 meetings. Arkansas has hit the over in 7 of its last 8 games, and Ole Miss has done so in 4 of its last 6 against Arkansas. I like the Rebels to pull away in this game, but Arkansas will score enough to propel this game past the point total. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. Texas Tech versus Baylor. The Baylor Bears play host to the Texas Tech Red Raiders on Saturday night in a Big 12 showdown from McLane Stadium. The Red Raiders are off to a 2-3 start, which is somewhat surprising considering the talent on their roster. For Baylor, they bring in the same record, though at least are coming off of a win the last time out. Baylor has dominated this series over the years, having won 7 of the last 10 meetings and 2 in a row overall, having won by 28 points last season. With both teams struggling, this is a crucial matchup that both will want to come out of with a win. The Baylor Bears play host to Texas Tech on Saturday night in Waco. Baylor is coming off an historical win last week at UCF in which the Bears trailed 35-7 in the second half, but reeled off 29 straight points to complete the comeback. It was a much-needed win for the Bears, who moved to 2-3 with the victory. Texas Tech makes the trip to Central Texas after a huge win at Houston. Tech is also 2-3, but has losses to West Virginia, Oregon, and, surprisingly, Wyoming. This game opened with Baylor as a 3-point favorite, but it has been steamed to the point that Tech is now favored by 1.5 points. I respect those bettors, but I disagree in this case. The biggest issue in this game is the quarterbacks. Baylor's struggles have largely been related to the absence of their starting quarterback Blake Shapen. Shapen returned last week against UCF, and it made a difference to every area of the offense. Texas Tech, on the other hand, lost its starting quarterback Tyler Show to a season-ending leg injury. He was hurt 2 weeks ago against West Virginia. Backup quarterback Baron Morton has ample game experience, but the offense became far more conservative last week with Morton under center. Look for both teams to deploy a rush-heavy scheme, and neither defense has been very good at stopping the run. Baylor has won 7 out of the last 10 times in this battle between these Texas State and Big 10 conference rivals. This includes a win last season on Texas Tech's home field by a score of 45-17. In that game, Baylor was a 1-point dog. Baron Morton was a freshman in that game and captained the Texas Tech offense. Morton completed 11 of 34 passes and 1 touchdown while committing 3 interceptions. Due to the injury of quarterback Tyler Show this season, the Red Raiders will again be turning to Morton in this bout. Energy and emotion will be atmospheric for this battle in Waco. Texas Tech's head coach is returning to face a team he once helped coach, and Baylor is coming off an emotional win. This game should be a closely fought game, which is why the book put a small number on it, making Texas Tech favored by 1. The high emotions involved, coupled with crowd noise, favors Baylor in this instance. Morton has only thrown 1 interception this season but threw 3 in the game against Baylor last season. Additionally, the place kicker has struggled with accuracy, kicking only 7 of 11 field goals. In a close game such as this should be, it often boils down to a missed field goals or the turnover differential. Look for Baylor's defense to pressure the backfield of Texas Tech and create opportunity. Baylor continues to boost their per-game scoring average this week and wins this home game outright. I think Baylor at home with their starting quarterback back has a pretty good advantage over Texas Tech in this case. I think the books had this game right in the first place, so the Baylor Bears to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The offense from both teams will attempt to maintain their dynamic 4-down style in this game. However, Texas Tech will be utilizing a quarterback who isn't known for his rushing ability, and Baylor already has a 9-for-16 record on 4th down attempts. This means that multiple drives will stall short of success. Baylor is averaging 23 points on the season, while Texas Tech, in their last Big 12 road game, only scored 13. Importantly, last year's game between these two teams featured Texas Tech quarterback Baron Morton, and then the team totaled 17 points with 2 touchdowns. It will be a tougher environment this year for Morton playing on Baylor's field. Furthermore, both teams' place kickers together have made 16 of 23 field goal attempts. That's a decent amount of points left on the field. The Red Raiders are on their backup quarterback, and with that comes a shift to a running style that will allow them to control the clock but will also bring down the scoring. For Baylor, too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to the quarterback situations leads to too many question marks on how the offense can perform, especially against a defense that has looked sharp over the last few weeks. Expect this to be a shockingly low-scoring affair for these two sides, in what could be the lowest scoring game of the weekend in the Big 12. While these offenses have been known for their firepower and explosiveness over the last few seasons, this matchup will be lower scoring. The first team to 30 in this tightly fought game wins. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Georgia Tech versus Miami, Florida. The 17th-ranked Miami Hurricanes host the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets Saturday in an Atlantic Coast Conference clash. The Hurricanes are 4-0 on the season, and this is their first conference matchup. The Yellow Jackets are 2-3 overall and 1-1 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Miami has won the last 2 head-to-head matchups, including a 35-14 win last season. Miami is undefeated and coming off a bye week, while the Yellow Jackets are coming off an embarrassing home loss to Bowling Green. Tech is transitioning to a pass-first attack instead of the triple option, and this gives them the ability to score, but they have had their growing pains. Last week was a disaster for the Rambling Wreck, but they won on the road at Wake Forest, nearly beat a good Louisville team in the opener, and were more competitive at Ole Miss than the final score appears. It is possible that Georgia Tech could find a way to compete in this one. Miami is still underrated in many ways. This team is fast and nasty. They beat a good Texas Aggies team by 15, and they have dominated every other opponent on the schedule. This offense can score, and the Georgia Tech defense does not show me any reason to think they can stop the Canes. Tech's only chance here is to keep pace with the offense and make this a shootout, but I don't think the Miami defense will make that an easy task for them. We will see how this defense holds up in the next few weeks with UNC and Clemson on tap. But I think this Miami defense is one of the fastest in the country, and they are going to be very disruptive. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets have looked terrible defensively in games against decent competition, and they're 116th in total defense, 131st in rushing defense, and 105th in scoring defense. Not ideal against an athletic Mimi team that's 10th in rushing offense, 7th in total offense, and 8th in scoring offense. Miami is also pretty decent defensively, holding 3 of its 4 opponents to single-digit points. Miami has also had an extra week to rest and prepare. Georgia Tech's defense is terrible, and they face one of the best offenses in the nation, which scores more than 40 points per game. The Yellow Jackets gave up 38 points against Bowling Green, so this one could get ugly. Tech has a potent offensive attack, but Miami has a great defense, so I don't expect Georgia Tech to score more than 2 touchdowns. This is a big spread for a conference game, but I just don't see Tech having any chance in this matchup. This will be an easy game for a rested Miami team, coming off a bye week and playing at home. Just a bad matchup overall for the Yellow Jackets. I think Tech will struggle to sustain drives, and a couple of touchdowns might be their ceiling on Saturday. So the Miami, Florida Hurricanes to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. This game has 2 quarterbacks with a combined touchdown to interception ratio of 26-5. Both QBs take care of the ball and limit their mistakes. This will lead to sustained drives that put points on the board. Miami has a top 10 offense in the nation. One can judge their opponents, but it is hard to ignore putting up 48 against a Southeastern Conference defense in the Texas Aggies. Georgia Tech has gone over the total in 4 out of 5 games so far. The only time Miami has gone under was when Miami, Ohio only scored 3 and Bethune-Cookman only scored 7. Georgia Tech is averaging 32 points per game this season. They won't be held under 10 like those opponents. Miami might score 57 points by itself, as Georgia Tech gave up 38 points against Bowling Green and has one of the worst defenses among all football bowl subdivision schools. Georgia Tech has a potent passing game, and pass defense is the more vulnerable part of Miami's defense, so they'll put up a couple of scores to push this outcome past the total. Miami averages 41 points per game, and there's no question that they will exceed that amount. The over is 4-1 on the season for Georgia Tech this season. This one will follow suit. This one is a no-brainer. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.